What's up, future millionaires? Today we're going to talk about 21 things poor people do that the rich don't. Let's jump right into it. The first thing that many poor people do is they always have a backup plan. The problem with always having a backup plan is you're always going to end up resorting back to that backup plan. There's probably so many poor people out there that have tried to start a business and they really had a dream and they really had a vision for it, but they failed because they had a backup plan. And what a backup plan really does most of the time is it gives people an easy way out. They're truly not committed. They don't have the mindset that they're gonna do whatever it takes in order to gain success. They have the mindset that if always I have this backup thing that I can always resort back to. And guess what happens? They always go back to their backup plan. So if you truly wanna be successful, you need to have no backup plan. You're going into this full force. There's a difference between having a backup plan and pivoting. So pivoting would be where you're trying to get results and you need to change your business model or change your strategy in order to get success. And pivoting is totally fine. But if you always have a backup plan, you're never gonna have success because you're always gonna resort back to your backup plan. So that's something, that huge thing that poor people do is they always have a backup plan. And instead of having a backup plan, you need to be 100% sure and actually complete the thing that you're setting out to do. And don't give yourself any backup plans. Force yourself to do it, and pivoting is totally fine. The second thing poor people do that the rich don't is poor people can't focus. In order to become successful, in order to become rich, you need to have a strong ability to focus. This comes in many different ways and has many benefits. First off, if you want to build a business and you don't have focus, you're doing 20 different things throughout the day. You're checking social media, you're not actually getting your work done. You're never gonna actually get anything productive done, right? So that's a huge way that focus plays a part. But focus also plays a part in many poor people if they wanna become rich, they try many different methods to become rich. The problem with that is, and what rich people know, is in order to become successful, in order to start becoming rich, you need to focus on one business until you build it up to the level that it needs to be at. If you've got your energy spread between 20 different things, well, those 20 different things are gonna be complete crap. If you have all your energy focused on one single vector and one single thing, that one thing is gonna have the capabilities of becoming that. You can become the best in the world at one thing. It's kind of that general thing where the brain surgeon gets paid a lot more than the general practitioner, right? Because the general practitioner, they're good at lots of different things. They're okay at lots of different things, but a brain surgeon is good at one specific thing, and that's called focus. So if you focus down, you can become a lot more successful and you can build wealth much, much faster. And another thing that plays into focus is most poor people aren't willing to sit down and focus on a daily basis. There's so many distractions nowadays, social media, watching TV. Rich people know that you need to focus in order to get successful. So I want to challenge you guys that are watching this video right now to sit down. Don't skip through this video at all. Don't skip around it. Watch this video in complete full. Don't get distracted by something else. This is gonna be a great challenge and a great practice for you to actually start building your focus and start doing things like meditation and things like that are going to allow you to build your focus and not let your mind get distracted by a million different things. So I challenge you to sit down right now, don't get distracted, and watch this video in full to help you practice your focus. A common trait between poor people is that they don't believe in themselves. Whether it be teachers that told them that weren't gonna be successful, whether it be their parents that told them they didn't have these certain skills. In order to become rich, in order to become successful, you need to have the confidence and believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, you're always going to give up as you start making progress, because you're always gonna think, I'm not smart enough. I'm not good at this enough. I'm not good at speaking enough. There's always gonna be something that's limiting you back from reaching success. So if you want to reach success, you always need to be willing, you need to believe in yourself that you can do it. The first thing you need to do before you can achieve success, it's see it, you need to visualize it, you need to know what you want in the first place. Secondly, you need to actually believe you can do what your goal is. And the third thing you need to do is go out and achieve it. That's why you need to believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, it won't be possible to achieve success. Something poor people almost always do is procrastinate. If they didn't procrastinate, they'd probably already have success by now, right? It's always that thing where they're telling themselves, I'll do this tomorrow. This is gonna be my great New Year's resolution. No, why don't you just get started now? Why are you waiting until tomorrow? Just get it done right away. There's no reason you should be waiting to have success. And this will tie into a later point that we'll talk about too. But if you keep procrastinating, you're never actually gonna get anything done. And in order to actually achieve success, you need to put in the work. If you keep procrastinating, you keep watching your TV show, you skip to this other thing, you watch this other YouTube video, instead of actually taking the action that you wanna do, you're never going to achieve anything in your life. And that's why pretty much all poor people procrastinate, and they waste tons of time doing things that are totally unproductive because they always put things off. And this ties into so many different points into this video. I hope you continue watching because we're gonna help you solve that procrastination. One way I've been able to overcome procrastination is one, if it's something that takes only a few minutes to do, you always do it right away. The second thing I've done to stop procrastination is I've made it a habit that I always take action before I do anything that involves like an easy dopamine rush, such as eating food, watching TV, or playing video games. I always complete my tasks for that day before I allow myself to do anything else. That way it's impossible for me to procrastinate by doing these other things that are just gonna take up my time instead. Something poor people do that the rich don't is watch the news and consume social media. Most poor people will argue that watching the news is important because it allows you to stay updated with the world and it keeps you informed. But the reality is, the negatives of the news and social media far outweigh the positives that you get out of it. The negatives of watching the news are one, there's so many depressing stories and there's so much information that you really don't need to know. And what that's doing is it's bogging your brain down and filling your brain with negativity. The second thing is it's just a waste of time. If there's anything important enough that you truly need to know, people are gonna tell you about it. And what rich people do is they let poor people that watch the news tell them about something if it's important enough. So the news ends up getting to the rich people anyways if it's important enough, but rich people don't waste their time watching it. Now, as far as social media, it's just simply a waste of time. There's nothing really beneficial that you get out of it. All that you can maybe get out of it is a dopamine rush. But what rich people do is they use social media to their own advantage. They don't actually scroll down Instagram and spend hours and hours scrolling on Instagram. They spend hours and hours creating content for poor people to watch. I'm not gonna lie. That's just the way it is because rich people are smart and they don't waste their time on social media. At least I should say consuming social media. They don't waste their time consuming social media. Poor people don't take self-responsibility. They always see themselves as the victim. They will always make excuses that, oh, if the government did this, we would be rich. Oh, if these poor people didn't keep putting us down, we would be successful. Oh, if I wasn't born in this situation, I would be successful. If I was born in this different country, I'd be successful. All of these excuses, they're not taking self-responsibility for their own success. You cannot possibly get rich or become successful if you don't take self-responsibility for your own failures. It's this mindset where you're either the victim or you're the creator. And if you always have the victim mindset, you will always be the victim in your life. If you have a creator mindset where you know that if you have full control of everything in your life, then that means you can create whatever kind of life you desire. So it's a shift from that victim mindset to that creator mindset that allows people to go from poor to rich. In order to become a creator, you need to have the mindset that you truly can do anything. You may have to put in more work, even if you have a disadvantage compared to other people. Know that you may have a little bit of a disadvantage, but know that that's not going to limit you. And don't think about your disadvantage, only think about getting to what your goal is. That's the only thing that matters, especially in this age nowadays where everyone has access to the internet and everybody for the most part has access to knowledge at this point. There's literally no excuses, no matter where you live in the world, that you cannot achieve success. One thing poor people do is they never follow through. Either that or they follow through for a little bit and then they give up. How many people do you know that make a resolution for New Year's and don't complete it by the end of the year? Probably a vast majority of people. And why is that? One, they didn't follow through and they gave up. Why do they do this? Well, there's always the easy way out. They don't stick to their goals. They don't make it a habit to focus on their goals every day. They don't make their goals important enough to actually achieve. And so if you want to achieve success, you need to stop screwing up. You need to follow through every single day. There's really nothing stopping you. It's literally just making it a habit, forcing yourself to do those small things every single day. But poor people don't follow through. It's usually those people that you ask to go hang out with you and then they forget about it. It's just a terrible habit overall. And what you need to do is you need to create a new habit. If you want to get out of this habit of not following through, of giving up, first off, you need to create a new habit. And then secondly, as far as giving up, you just need to make that no longer an option. Giving up is no longer an option. You're gonna become successful no matter what. and you're gonna do whatever it takes to become successful. That's the mindset that the rich have. And what that allows you to do is that if you have that mindset, you know for a fact that you are bound to become successful. As long as you're improving a little bit each day, there's nowhere to go but up. If you make small improvements each day, those small improvements are gonna add up, and eventually you're gonna get to what your goal is, as long as you're being consistent and you're putting the work in every day. It's just like a New Year's resolution. If you're going to the gym, and you're putting that small improvement every single day, you're getting better and better every single day. It's literally impossible for you to reach your goal as long as you're making progress every day. And the only way you can not reach your goal is if you give up. So you need to follow through, and you cannot give up if you want to go from poor to rich. Oftentimes, poor people simply don't want success bad enough. Let me ask you this. If you were to rate your motivation of getting success on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the most motivated you've ever been for anything in your life, and 1 being completely unmotivated, where would you rate yourself? If you're not a 10 out of 10, I can guarantee you, you won't get success. It's totally fine. Success isn't right for everyone. People are happy at all levels of life, and success actually may look different for different people. But if you don't have a 10 out of 10 motivation to get success, if you don't want success more than you want to breathe, then you're never going to get success. Simply put, you have to be motivated in order to get success, or you're gonna stay where you are. Let me put it this way. You need to be as hungry as a lion that's kids are going to die in the next day if it doesn't find something to eat for them. That's the level of motivation it's gonna take if you really wanna become successful. And if you're not hungry enough, that's totally okay. Just know that you're probably not gonna reach it. And instead, you need to set some goals that you're truly hungry for and that you're willing to do anything to get. Poor people are oftentimes afraid of success, maybe without even knowing it. And this may sound crazy, but I'm sure this has actually happened to many of you. Have you ever had a moment in your life where you were actually about to do something good, but something inside of you was holding you back? You knew that this thing that you were about to do was gonna improve your life and change your life for the better, but you feel nervous to do it. That's what we would call the fear of success. And what this kind of ties into, and the reason you get that feeling, is because truly, as humans, we are wired to not like to change. Because in nature, long time ago, when our lives were much riskier and we could die much more easily and much more sooner in our lives, every change in our life was a risk. So our bodies are wired to not like change. So if you want to break free from the failure of success, you need to start telling yourself that you deserve it and be willing to take on these changes. And even in times when you feel nervous of success and you have a little bit of fear of it, your fear and your motivation of not achieving success needs to be greater than your fear of actually achieving success. So when you're getting nervous and when something's about to be life-changing, just jump into it and know that the difficult things, the things that you're scared of, are oftentimes the right thing to do, and just jump headfirst into those. Another thing poor people do that rich people most oftentimes don't is live unhealthy. Yes, of course, there's many rich people that do live unhealthy, but for the most part, overall, rich people are healthier than most poor people. And why is that? Well, put simply, it all comes down to how you do one thing is how you do everything. So the way you do one thing in your life is oftentimes the way that you do everything. For the most part, rich people might be more motivated. They like to take care of their body, and therefore they're gonna get better results in their business. They're gonna take care of their health, and they're gonna live longer, and they're gonna be able to have more success. They're motivated to go to the gym, therefore they're motivated to put their work in. So how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if there's one part of your life that's lacking, let's say you're unorganized, you're messy, you eat terribly, you're gonna feel like crap the next day, and it's gonna be hard to perform higher. And most high performers, most rich people are high performers that put in the effort to keep their health high, to eat right, to exercise, because all of those things allow them to work harder and work more efficiently and therefore make more money. Something poor people do that rich people don't is poor people think they know it all. You guys have probably heard the saying before, where actually the more that you know, the less you realize that you actually know. It's kind of this complex where you get to a certain point, and if you feel like an expert and you feel like you know it all, what you stop doing is you stop learning. And rich people will continuously learn. They're always getting better and better, and they always know that there's room to improve. And actually, the smarter that you get, the more you realize we don't know about the world and we don't know about the specific subject that you're an expert in. So you never want to be in a position where you think you know it all, because at the point that you think you know it all, there's no more room for growth. Poor people never have any money saved. And it's kind of ironic because you may think, well, the reason they're poor in the first place is because they don't have any money saved, right? And how do you actually break out of that? Well, the first way is to actually not get in that situation in the first place. You probably guys have seen people that buy a $20,000 car when it's totally unnecessary, and where they could have gotten a $5,000, even $3,000 car and not have to pay so many loans on it. So what they do is they get a $20,000 car. Now they have a monthly payment of $200 or whatever amount. And now they have to continue working their low-paying job in order to afford the car that they bought. They can't quit because they have no money saved up. If they quit and try to get a better job, they're not gonna be able to. So you guys have probably seen this kind of thing all the time. They get stuck with their rent payments that are too high when they could have been more frugal. You need to live within your means. If you're not saving money, no matter what income you're making, now of course if you have kids, that's a little bit different, but the first way to not get in this situation is to not put yourself in the situation in the first place where you're spending more than you're making. You need to live below your means and allow yourself to save up money, because if you don't save up money, you're never going to be able to break free. You're never gonna have a net, and you're always gonna be stuck in the situation where you have to continue working the same job and you can't break out of it because you have no time and no extra money to break out of your situation. So what do you do if you're in that situation? Well, there's a few ways that we'll talk about a little bit later, but one of those ways is you need to increase your income so that you can start saving up some money. And then another way would be to lower your monthly expenses so that you can start saving up money every month. Most businesses take money to invest, and if you want to be able to invest and you want to be able to separate your money, your time from your income, you need to be able to save money. Poor people get paid based on time. Rich people get paid based on results. This is a huge key if you want to get past any certain point in your life. Jobs and working for an hourly wage is always going to be limiting you in your life no matter what. So if you truly want to become rich, you need to learn how to separate your time from your income. You need to learn how to get paid based on results, and you need to eliminate the limiting belief that the more work you put in, the more you should get paid. It has nothing to do with the amount of work and the amount of time that you put in. It has everything to do with the results that you get for working for other people. So another way to separate your income from your time is investments, but the main way starting out to separate your income from your time is to provide services that focus on results and not time spent. And that's a huge limiting belief that most poor people have, is they think the harder I work, the more money I make. Well, no, you're never gonna get out of a rut because you can only work a certain amount of hours per day. And the only way to break free from that is to actually separate your income from your time. Another thing poor people do that rich people don't is they have hatred or jealousy towards rich people. What's the problem with that? Well, if you have hatred or jealousy towards rich people and you're judging other people, you're judging rich people, you will never become rich. Why? Because with that kind of logic, if you ever become rich, then you know that other people would be judging you. So therefore, you would not want to become rich, because then you'll know that you'll be judged by other people like yourself. So if you ever want to become rich, you need to eliminate beliefs that in hatred and jealousy towards rich people, and you just need to understand why they got there and be happy for them and not be judging other people. This applies to anything that you judge people for. If you're judging people for a certain reason, that's usually because you don't like a trait of that specific person, whether it be their confidence, they are proud of themselves, and things like that. If you're judging other people, you'll never be able to achieve what that other person has. So you need to stop judging people if you truly want to grow in life. On top of that, you never know what somebody's gone through when you judge someone. So always assume the best and never judge people in general, and try to avoid it as much as possible. It's never a good thing. Poor people think getting rich is lucky and that they have very little chance. They almost see getting rich as hitting the lottery. They think you need to have the perfect upbringing, you need to have the perfect family, you need to be born in the right area, you need to have the perfect skills. They think they need to have the perfect situation in order to become successful. And anyone that thinks that is never going to become successful, because they're always going to be doubting if they were lucky enough. The truth is, when you become rich and you put in the work every single day, you create opportunities for yourself. You create your own luck. When you're putting in the work every day, you're literally creating your own luck. And so yes, rich people do get rich based off luck a lot of the times, but it's because they created the luck themselves by putting in the work and making opportunities for themselves every single day. Poor people say money doesn't buy you happiness. Well, no, rich people would probably actually say money doesn't buy you happiness either, but they would say it in different ways. See, poor people would say money doesn't buy you happiness because they're using that as an excuse as to why they shouldn't become successful. The truth is, you need some money to be happy. You're never gonna be happy if you're always living paycheck to paycheck. You're always worried if something's gonna happen to your car. What are you gonna do if you need a repair to your car? What are you gonna do if you need a repair to your house? Well, I can tell you what, you're never gonna be happy if you're always broke. So at some degree, money does buy you happiness, but there is also a certain point where you do need to balance your happiness with the money that you're making. Obviously, money alone won't make you happy, but you're not gonna be happy at all if you don't have any money, right? And so when poor people are saying that money doesn't buy you happiness, what they're really doing is they're just making an excuse for themselves so they can make themselves and their friends feel better about themselves. The truth is, you're never gonna be happy if you don't have any money at all. A skill that poor people don't have that the rich do is poor people are not good at problem solving. Whether it be the effort in the first place or some kind of obstacle comes up in their life, poor people, when faced with an obstacle, they won't take advantage of the opportunity to solve it. They only see it as an obstacle. They don't see it as something they can actually jump or get over. And they don't do the problem solving method in order to get past the obstacle that they're facing. They just end up giving up. So in order to be successful, and a trait that the rich have is they are amazing problem solvers. Whenever an obstacle comes up, they don't see it as impossible. They only see it as an obstacle that can be overcome by problem solving. And what they do is they go through a problem solving method in order to solve that problem. If you guys want to learn more about the problem solving method, you could do a little bit of research on that on Google. But in order to become successful, in order to be rich, you need to have the skill of problem solving. And it is 100% one of the most important skills to becoming successful is having an amazing problem solving capability. Something poor people do that rich people don't is poor people don't have an open mind. They're always closed-minded. They're either gonna be focused on one political party or another. They're never gonna have an open mind towards other people. They may think that yoga and meditation is something that only hippies do. They don't ever have an open mind. Something that rich people do is they always have an open mind. They're always looking for opportunities. They're always looking to learn something new. When you have a closed mind, you cannot learn new things. You need to really balance all aspects of your life and always have an open mind. If you don't have an open mind, you're not going to be able to learn. You're not going to be able to grow. It all comes down, having an open mind comes down to having a growth mindset. If you don't have an open mind, you cannot grow. And you need to be open to literally any ideas, and don't be throwing ideas out the window from the very start. Things can always change. And you guys have probably seen this many times where people always have these beliefs that are from like 30 years ago. For example, let me give you guys an example right here. Having an open mind, if you were to tell your parents or something like that, or friends and stuff like that, is milk healthy for you? And you were to tell them that milk isn't really healthy for you, they would probably lose a fit, especially if you're in the United States, because in the United States, everyone grows up thinking that milk is super healthy, and they actually teach it in schools. They teach it in schools because the milk companies paid the schools to actually teach that milk is healthy and have it part of the curriculum. So a lot of people, if you tell them that milk is not really that healthy in the United States, they're gonna freak out because they've been taught these things their whole life. They don't have an open mind. They're not open to new information. And what that does is if you're not open to new information, you're not gonna be able to learn. And that's just a great example of people not having an open mind when you bring up subjects that conflict with their past beliefs. So always have an open mind and be open to new beliefs and systems. Another thing poor people do that the rich don't is poor people don't think for themselves. They typically just follow whatever their parents taught them, whatever their schooling taught them, and they never question anything they learn. That is the key term here. Every bit of knowledge that you gain throughout life, you should always question it and double check it. There's so much false information in this world today, and so many false beliefs that people have, just like I was talking about earlier with the milk situation, where most people in the United States believe that milk is healthy, and when you bring it up to them, they start to argue back that it's not. And this comes back down to thinking for yourselves and being able to do your own research and questioning the status quo. If most people are poor, or at least most people are not rich, being rich is only a small percentage of the population, why would you want to believe the same things that 90-95% of the population believe? Obviously, there are beliefs that separate the rich from the poor. And in order to be able to acquire those beliefs that the rich have and get rid of those beliefs that the poor have, you need to have a different mindset, and you need to be willing to think differently from the majority of most people. And that also leads back into success. If you're thinking differently from other people and you're thinking for yourself, not just following everything that everyone else is doing, that allows you to come up with unique business ideas and come up with the unique business propositions and systems that are different from everybody else in the industry. And if you're thinking differently, if you're just copying everybody else's business, I mean, it'll work to a certain degree, but you're never gonna be really rich or successful. It'll work for a little bit, but then it'll die out because you're just copying other people. If you want to truly become successful, you need to be able to think for yourself and come up with original ideas that are gonna actually help the world. See, the world would never change if we just had everybody thinking the same way forever, right? So we need to have people that think differently and are willing to question the status quo if we ever want to grow in life. Like, for example, people used to think that smoking was perfectly fine, right? Well, guess what? Today, now we all know that smoking is terrible, but there had to be somebody back then that before people even realized that smoking was bad, there's some scientist or some researcher that was thinking, wow, this must be bad for people. And he's thinking differently and questioning the status quo, which allowed us to get this information that smoking is bad for people and has allowed us to save so many lives because of their work in thinking differently. Something poor people do that the rich don't is a lot of times poor people aren't willing to sacrifice. They're not willing to sacrifice the extra 3 hours spent per day on watching TV or scrolling through social media. They're not willing to cut out their friends that are just not right for them. As you guys probably know watching this video, you typically become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And they're usually spending out time with probably the people maybe even below them. And so what's happening is they're becoming a worse and worse person over time. That's because they're not willing to sacrifice their old friends that are not right for them. They're not willing to sacrifice the time to put in the work. Truly, if you want to become successful, you're gonna have to sacrifice some things. You're gonna have to sacrifice the things. So what you want to do is you want to sacrifice the things that are not good for you for things that are good for you. And so that's what kind of happens with a lot of poor people, is they get stuck in this mentality where they don't want to change and they're not willing to sacrifice the things that are bad for them for things that are better for them. Poor people focus too much on saving money instead of making more. I know we talked about earlier that saving money is an important thing to become rich and being able to invest that money and use that money to grow and have your money do work for you. But at the same time, there becomes a point where you really can't save that much if you're not making much money in the first place, right? You guys have probably all seen the people that they go through the grocery store checkout and then they come back and they're arguing about the 5 cents, 30 cents of savings that they should have gotten. Reality, if you're always looking at these small numbers, a penny saved is a penny saved. That's not really making much difference in your life. What you really need to do is, rather than always focusing on saving money, what's a lot more effective to do is just focus on gaining more money. So many poor people spend so much time thinking about how they can save like $1, a couple cents at a time. They focus on the smallest bit of savings, or even if they focus on like $30 of savings, if you're not making very much money in the first place, you don't have a savings problem, you have an income problem. Well, a lot of people have both. So you need to balance out. There comes a point where you can only save so much and you need to increase your income. And most of the time, increasing your income is actually more effective than saving money. So what poor people need to do is they need to focus on gaining skills that are high income skills. There's lots of different skills that are high income skills. And once again, the main thing that you need to focus on is not how much time you spent working for people. You need to figure out, how can I build the skills that are most valuable to the marketplace and that are most valuable to the world, and that companies and things like that are willing to pay the most for. Because if you have valuable skill sets, you can make a high income regardless of how much time you work. So you need to think about, how can I provide the most value to companies? How can I provide the most value to the world? And then from there, break down those skills that you need to gain in order to provide that value. Once again, we can go back to the analogy about the general practitioner versus the brain surgeon. The brain surgeon makes a lot more because his skill is a lot more valuable. A brain surgery is extremely delicate and it has an extremely high value in the marketplace. So people that have gone through the work to become a brain surgeon have really built a high value skill set. And there's endless amounts of high value skill sets in the marketplace. You need to find one that you enjoy, that you're good at, and that also has a high value. So combine those three things together and you're gonna have something amazing, and you're gonna be able to build yourself a high value income, which is a lot more effective most of the time than trying to save money. Now, it's important to do both, because if you just keep increasing your expenses to match your income, then you're never gonna become wealthy, right? So you need to keep your expenses low, but increase your income, and it's gonna grow exponentially, and you use that difference to then invest and make the money work for you. That's something that the poor don't do, that the rich do. Wow, I just said do, didn't I there? All right, guys, so that's 21 things that poor people do that the rich don't. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and got a huge amount of value from it. If you did and you enjoy this type of content, I make plenty more of it. Subscribe to the channel, make sure you leave a like, and if you have any comments or suggestions to add, I would highly appreciate it if you leave it down in the comments below so that people can learn from your advice as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.